Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for attending today. I'm Courtney. I'm the Director of Corporate Recruiting here at Oxford. I've been here for about 3 years now. So we're really excited to have you here and excited to explain more about the career opportunities and training programs we have that can make you successful here at Oxford. So just to begin, I want to give you a quick overview of our company, and then we'll dive into a little bit more Q&A on what we do and our training programs. So. We'll get started here. Just to go through and tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do. So we are known as a company that, we deliver the right talent right now. So who we are is we are a leading staffing and consulting company. We've got offices across North America and Europe, and we focus on proactively building a network of highly skilled professionals so that we can immediately connect our clients to expertise they need and provide rewarding opportunities for our consultants. So not only do we help focus on helping organizations and consultants succeed, we also believe in helping our employees thrive in challenging and fun environments. So we focus on a shared goal, communicate openly, and support each other every step of the way. So we actually have over 35 years of experience. We were established in 1984, and we specialize in some of the fastest growing fields: life sciences, healthcare, engineering, and information technology. We have over 100,000 consultants in our network, over 840 internal employees. We've supported 34,000 projects since 2000, and then we have offices throughout the US and Europe. And we've placed consultants in over 44 countries and 50 states in the US. So positions we hire for. So we have two main roles we focus on hiring for. We have the recruiter role and we have the account manager role. So within the recruiter role, you have the opportunity to impact careers of others and the success of organizations across the globe. You are trained on how to support the organization's business objectives by sourcing candidates, recruiting candidates. You'll interview, you'll evaluate and hire temporary consultants for our clients. So you'll get to experience the opportunity to make a difference and challenge yourself as you achieve your performance goals. So second role is our account manager role. So you'll be in constant communication with new and current clients on prospective candidates, job needs that they have, budget adjustments, and much more. So with a focus on representing the full scope of our services, you'll spend time on the phone identifying new opportunities, but also visiting your target and current customers to support the growth of your accounts. All right, and then so what we offer as a company, we have programs and benefits to help you learn, grow, and succeed. As you can see here, we have the health, vision, dental, we have PTO and holidays, 401k plan, training and professional development, career advancement, rewards and recognition, health and wellness programs, disability, life insurance. We also offer a competitive salary plus commission on top of that. And then we offer flexible spending accounts as well. So why do you want to work here at Oxford? We do a lot to celebrate our people and their successes. So we do tons of team building across the board in each office. We try to do it quarterly, get everybody together, pick an activity. We did a field day in Chandler, Arizona. We did putt-putt golf in Beverly office and many more. I mean, baseball games, bowling, the office picks what they want to do and all go out and celebrate and have a good time. We also really pride ourselves on, recognizing our employees. So if you hit a milestone, if you hit a point in your career where you can advance, I mean, we want to celebrate you. It could even be just sending, submitting a picture in and winning a contest. We're going to celebrate you and highlight you. So we do appreciate our employees, and they do come first. So, and then we also like to have fun, of course. We always do celebrate holidays. There's a couple pictures on here of Halloween that we've dressed up in the offices, take some pictures. And one of the best parts is we do have a President's Club trip that we take every single year. It is earned by, big placements with your consultants or candidates, and it's our top performers that go each year, and it's all inclusive, all expenses paid for, and usually somewhere warm. So this one was in Mexico. So everybody has a great time. And then also we do a lot of charitable events across the board. This is something that every office does. I mean, we like to support our local, national communities across the board. These are just a few that we've highlighted here, like Red Nose Day is always fun. You get some great pictures out of it. We've raised over, $19,000 for the American Cancer Society. And I know we've gone to food banks before in the past, but again, it's specific to each office. We also do it on a global and local or national level too, on just different charities that we support. Okay, and then how we make you successful. So we have really great training programs here. So for the account manager training, new hire training coming in, it's 11 weeks. And then we have a recruiter training that's 4 weeks. We'll discuss more about that here shortly. But not only that, we do have ongoing professional development. So it's really designed to educate and help our employees at each stage of their career path. And these are just a couple examples or a few examples of what we offer. We do have a learning experience platform called Precipio. We have an emerging leaders program, Get Smarter sessions, and then we also have DEI programs and training. So, okay. So to wrap up here, so I was going to introduce you to all of our panelists today and our guest speakers, and tell them a little bit about themselves, and then we'll go into some questions. So Danielle, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Gotcha.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Danielle Kofel. I head up learning and development for Oxford. I went to the University of Hawaii, believe it or not, and got a bachelor's in journalism. And then I went to Indiana University in Bloomington and got a graduate degree in instructional design. I've been with Oxford for about 5 years.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, Rick.
Everybody, I'm Rick Searcy. I'm the Director of Business Development for Life Sciences here in the Madison office, working alongside Pat. I've been here a little over 3.5 years, spent all of my life before that in North Carolina. Went to the University of North Carolina at Wilmington and got 2 degrees in English, and here I am in sales.
Love it. Awesome. Patrick.
Patrick Hunter, live in the Madison office here as well, Director of Recruiting. From here originally, lived in Chicago for 6 or 7 fun years after college, and then moved back a couple of years ago. So I work with all these guys very closely.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Well, good. So I wanted to start off by, Danielle, I was going to ask you, I want to dive into our training programs a little bit more and ask you some questions around that. I mean, it's been great. I know we've made some changes. And so I really just want to, kind of start with the account manager program and give us a little background of us, how long the program is and the structure of the program, maybe the tools that you're using for the program.
Sure. So as Courtney mentioned, the account manager program is 11 weeks. And regardless of whether you're in the account manager or the recruiter program, one of the really cool things that is unique to Oxford is when you join a class of, it could be anywhere between 40 and 80 people, but they're coming from all over the United States and Ireland and Europe. So it's really cool that you get to combine and mix with people from all over the country and Europe together and go through these programs. The account manager program is blended. Actually, both programs are. They're blended learning, meaning that there's some virtual live instruction that happens. There's some e-learning that you go through. Every day you have those things. Every day you have at least an hour of shadowing that happens where you're paired up with a senior who's been successful in that role, and you can observe and give you specific things to look for when you're shadowing with them. So it's a mixture of live classroom training, dozens and dozens and dozens of role plays that increase in complexity over the 11 weeks. So we start you with some real simple consultant kind of calls that you do that are very warm. Like most consultants, when you call them, they're happy to talk to you because they're looking for work to do and you can offer it to them. So we start you off with really easy calls and we gradually work you up to calling into client managers. And so you are very prepared by the end of 11 weeks. You have kind of a senior mentor that you work with throughout the program. And you also go through what we call a series of Excellence Exposed sessions at the end where you hear from some of our really top sellers. And you get some best practice tips for them before you go in and tackle your own accounts.
That's fantastic. So I guess, when we talk about reaching out to clients, like how quickly are people, getting on the phones or talking to clients?
Yeah. So whether you're an account manager or a recruiter, you actually start talking with consultants, believe it or not, even if you're on the sales side, you start talking with them at the end of week 2. And then we have you start dialing into client managers at the end of week 4. So that's the kind of the progression that we have there.
Perfect. Now, I know I mentioned earlier about the different industries that we support and focus in. If I guess tell us a little bit more on the training behind some of the industries, and then I guess the terminology and what they need to know. Are they very specialized, or I guess?
Sure. So when you join Oxford, you're aligned to what we call a discipline. So you're aligned to either IT or healthcare or engineering or life sciences. And so you're going to learn, if you're assigned to IT, you're going to be in the IT environment. And we're usually going to start you off with a subset of IT. So we might start you off with like enterprise applications, and you're going to concentrate on becoming familiar with enterprise applications. Because that will be those will be the managers that you dial into first and who you're assigned to first. So you'll go through, we have a really robust set of e-learning programs that you'll go through to help give you just the like, what the heck is an enterprise application? Why does a company even use them? And if they use them, what do they use them for? So we start off at the really basic levels. And then we have conversational guides that we'll walk you through and you'll practice with that really give you kind of from the beginning to the end of the conversation, what are the questions you should be asking and why should you be asking a client manager these questions and what are the answers that you're looking for along the way. And we give you tips on kind of the jargon and the language and the acronyms that they use so that you can come into those conversations feeling like you know what you're talking about, you sound like you know what you're talking about, and you can hit the ground running.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
So I wanted to go over the recruiter program a little bit too, because it is a little bit different. It's 4 weeks versus 11 weeks. So sure. Is it the same structure as the account manager program, or what's different about the recruiter training program?
Sure. So the recruiter program, the design of it is the same. It's still blended. So you're still going to have the shadowing. You're still going to have some self-paced learning. You're going to have workshops nearly every day, live virtual workshops where you engage with the L&D team and your peers. The difference is that you're dialing into consultants. And so your program is really just focused. We have you dialing and doing, talking with consultants at the end of week 2, and your focus on those calls is just narrower than a client manager call. So the complexity of those calls can be not as in depth as with the client manager, but also those calls are they're warmer calls because you're calling into a consultant who typically does consulting work. They're looking for jobs all the time, and so those kinds of calls and the objections that you handle are just kind of lighter and different in complexity than on the sales side. But really the design and structure of them is very similar. Both programs, we have a learning management system which houses your program for the entire 4 or 11 weeks, and it breaks it down by day, by week, exactly what you need to take at what, during the day, and gives you the sequence of your plan. It's pretty detailed. Great.
Thank you. And then I guess I was going to ask, we were talking about calling consultants and clients, and are for the AM role, are they given an account plan coming in, or how is that set up? And kind of same with the recruiters, do they know who they're supposed to be reaching out to coming in?
Yes, so this is so fantastic. And for all hires coming in now, it's the best it has ever been as far as how we set you up. So on the account manager side, you are given a really great portfolio of accounts. So you'll have anywhere between 6 and 20 companies that have been assigned to you. And not only that, but within each of those companies, you're going to get a set of client managers for you to start prospecting into. Sometimes you're going to inherit accounts. So they're already hot, active accounts that we've had business with, and you're going to inherit those. And there's a transition plan in place for you to work with a senior to adopt and maintain those accounts. And other times they're new accounts that we're trying to target. You're going to have a really nice starting point when you come in on the account manager side with that. And you work with L&D on that too. As part of your training program, we dive into that plan, that portfolio that you have, and we help make sure you understand all the tools that are available to research and network and canvas those accounts before we set you with your director. On the recruiter side, very similar. You're going to get a set of consultants that maybe we've never worked with before, but you're going to prospect into, and you'll very likely inherit consultants that we have worked with before that are just transitioning over into your portfolio. So in both cases, you're going to have a really nice set to work with right out of the gate.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I did actually have a question coming in. Since we're talking recruiting right now, they want to know what recruitment tools will be available for the recruiter to use. So,
I have a feeling Rick or Pat would be able to speak.
I was going to say,
I can jump in.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, LinkedIn Recruiter is a big one for us. I think it was newer back when I started 3 years ago. Now it's one of the core tools we use. We also have an internal system that has pulled resumes and profiles from a ton of different locations that over the last few years. So I want to say there's over 1 million profiles in there. So there's plenty of people to go find. And we've got LinkedIn Recruiter, which is a great tool. It's a little different than LinkedIn. Like, it gives you more accessibility and things like that, but that's where we spend a lot of our time. And then eventually, once you start building a network, you start reaching out for referrals, and then you get, hopefully, the people you already know give you more referrals to people as well. So
great. Thanks for that. So, okay. And then I wanted to touch on one more piece, Danielle, for you. And then I was going to jump into kind of the day-to-day and what it looks like to work here in the AM and recruiter role. But as far as like support and continuous learning, I know I put that on the previous slide, but can you tell us a little bit more about say Percipio and emerging leaders and just an overview? And I know, Rick and Patrick have both gone through emerging leaders, so I'm sure they'll have a few things to say about that, but. Sure.
So Percipio is our learning experience platform that you'll have access to upon day one. It is loaded with hundreds of thousands of learning resources that are really high quality. It's a mixture. You can get anything from expert interview videos to book summaries and the hottest business books that are available right now. And then, of course, there's a whole suite of e-learning self-paced modules. You can get certified as a black belt in project management. So there's a ton of certification programs that are at your access. There's no restrictions on it. So literally, if you're in there, like almost any topic you could think of, like say emotional intelligence or prospecting and campaigning and sales, or maybe it's something around enterprise applications and coding, you will find it in there. I will bet on that. I'll put my name on that. You'll find some really good resources in there. So that's available to you on day one for you to digest at will. And then in addition to that, our Emerging Leaders program is for people who are interested in and or have been pegged as leadership potential. So it's not that you say, I definitely want to be a manager and I want to be a part of this program. It's for people who are just curious about what the role of a manager is and building their own leadership skills, no matter which company they work with. So the skills that you learn in that company, in that program, relate to any management job you would have. It's a year-long program. one of the really unique things, and I've worked at big Fortune 500 companies before, and I have not seen this at any of them that Oxford does, is that program is facilitated by our executive team. So our CEO and the SVPs of the company actually deliver that training content in partnership with L&D. So that's why it's a nomination. You can get into that program. I've seen someone in that program. They've only been with Oxford for 2 years, and they've been nominated and accepted a seat in that program. And then in addition to that, we have what we call Get Smarter sessions. They're short, like 15 to 20 minute kind of golden nugget sessions that we run virtually on hot topics that either come in on new tool functionalities, new sales strategies. It could be best practice tips that we're bringing on. And those come in from the business. So when there's an interest or a need and we start seeing themes of people being curious in things, or there's a new release of something, we offer those to the company as well. And that kind of happens as it's requested and as it's needed.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. I think we should maybe jump over to Rick and Patrick now. I mean, like I mentioned, they both went through emerging leaders and they're in their roles, the director roles now today. So I've got some questions here and some questions came in, but I thought, Rick, can we start with you and give us a, I know you're in the business development role now. So I guess, how did you get there? I guess, you started, I'm assuming as an AM, right? Coming in and moving your way up. So.
Yeah, that's correct. I started as an account manager, like I said, about 3.5 years ago. I think it was April of 2018, coming from North Carolina from about 15 years of a sales background, and moved into this role 14 months ago, give or take.
Great.
As the director of business development. So, I won't pat myself on the back too much. A lot of it was right place, right time. We happen to have the opportunity here for both myself and Patrick to be able to take over what I think is still probably the newest division of Oxford. But that's kind of, my pathway in a nutshell. Moved up here with my family to get a little bit closer to my wife's side of the family, and had a kind of a whirlwind experience. Trying to buy a house, enroll my daughter in school, and apply for like 17 different jobs all in about a 2-day span. And it was my first Wisconsin winter experience, so that was rough as well, coming from the beach. But that was kind of my journey here. Got into it, absolutely loved it from day one. Really embraced the culture and the environment, the flexibility here, and then had the opportunity again about 14 months ago. I didn't think twice.
Awesome. Well, that's great. No. So I have some questions. So we want to know a little bit more about the day-to-day on the account management side, and kind of what it looks like to work here in that role.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think for me, the most important thing about the day-to-day is it's really kind of a choose your own adventure. We're going to give you all the tools to understand how to break down your day and how to focus yourself in different increments in terms of being successful and efficient and different things like that. But at the end of the day, we're a performance-based company. So, if you're getting there, you've got a really wide berth in terms of how it is that you're going to get where you want to be at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, at the end of your first year, so on and so forth, kind of keep going from there. But, the day-to-day really is getting in the morning, kind of planning out your day. We have a daily morning production meeting. We discuss what we want to focus on. We can discuss industry trends. We can discuss consultants that are becoming available that might be relevant to somebody on the account management team and somebody they're having a conversation with. And then after that, like I said, it's really kind of a choose your own adventure on how you want to build out your own day. We're going to give you all the tools. And then outside of that, we're going to give you a whole lot of freedom on figuring out how you want to, make them work for you.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you for that. And then Patrick, I was going to flip it over to you. Tell us how the recruiter's day-to-day looks like.
I mean, it's kind of the same. Like, the nice thing about Oxford is they kind of let you do your thing. I mean, we obviously have, numbers we want to hit and things like that, but we give everyone a number of tools to be successful. For me, it's just building relationships. So, like, I wasn't a recruiter before this. I didn't do this at all. I knew nothing about life sciences when I started here. I was just able to talk to people, and so I was able to come in here and be productive and do, you know, do some business pretty quickly, luckily. And that's the same for Rick, I know, on his side, and that's how we were able to move up, you know, to our director roles. But if you can talk to people, like, you can be good at this job. It's the end of the day for me. I gotta be able to do people. Not that. So.
Okay, great. So I'm going to go through a couple more questions that we've got in here today. So, and feel free if, you know, Rick, you want to go first, if Patrick, you want to go first and jump in and take it. But what's the greatest challenge you faced in your role and how did you overcome it?
You know, I guess to lead in for me, and Pat wasn't too far behind myself. I came in kind of a transitional period in Oxford. I think we as a company were trying to reestablish our identity. And, you know, with that, I also came in with a lot of sales experience of my own, but it was always outside sales. So, you know, for me, it was the struggle of trying to fit into an Oxford that was still trying to establish who they wanted to be, who they wanted to become, and then also adapting my experience to a pretty novel environment for me. So, you know, that was my biggest challenge, I think, early on, was just kind of figuring out how I fit into the Oxford model and how I was going to make it work for me. The other side of that is that, again, I was given a lot of freedom to kind of figure that out for myself, which I think was pretty important and a big selling point. But for me, it was really, it was a lot of novel stuff. And like I mentioned before too, a lot of it was sort of ancillary, you know, really kind of upending my life and doing a lot of different things personally. And then trying to figure out how to make that work professionally was tough.
Okay, thanks.
And I'll add, I mean, when I started, and Rick, I'm sure the same, I mean, we started Monday. On Friday, we were on the phone, just calling people. Like, there wasn't really much of a training program. Danielle's come in and put in like much more since then, which is great. But yeah, it was kind of like you come in Monday and you just jump on the phone like 3 days later and figure it out, you know? So we've got a much more established program now, which I've loved so far with everyone that we've hired since then. So I'll give a shout out to Danielle and her team for that.
Yeah, thanks. Those days are gone. We don't let people sink.
It was fun back then. Yeah, hopping on the phone Friday afternoon that first week was one of the most terrifying things I've ever done, realistically. So,
Sure.
and I mean,
Yeah.
I've been on other jobs before, but yeah, it was not fun. So a lot more going into it these days for sure.
That's great. I'm glad. Okay, so I've got another question, actually specifically for you, Patrick, just within the recruiting space, and I'm sure it's very similar on the account management side as well. But what are you looking for in a candidate, like when you hire them on?
You know, I think it's probably different for every director, but for me, it's just if you can hold a conversation, that's like the biggest thing. I'm pretty easy to talk to. Probably talk too much if you ask Rick and some of the people on this call. So for me, it's just, like I don't care about experience realistically. I don't care what you've done in the past. As long as you've got like drive to be successful and can hold a conversation with people, like you can be very successful at this job and make a lot of money.
Awesome.
Like I'm not gonna throw numbers out, but that's all I care about. Like we've got some set, you know, email or questions we're supposed to ask. I'm gonna ask you a few of them, but as long as you can hold a conversation, like you can be good at this job.
Perfect. Rick, what about you? You feel the same as far as an AM role, or is there a difference in what you look for?
No, I feel pretty similar to Pat there. And I think part of that too is why we work, you know, so well together as a team, is we're pretty well aligned when it comes to that. You know, when I interview, when I hire folks, it's culture. You know, I throw a lot of kind of the canned question and answer, you know, quote unquote interview questions out the window. If I'm being honest, and I just, to Pat's point, I want to know if you can hold a conversation. I want to know if you're going to fit in with the rest of the team, because while this is an individual sport, you know, rising tide lifts all ships. And that's kind of the way that we view this team. And that's the way that I think Oxford kind of views its success as a whole. So if you're going to fit in, you know, culturally, socially, emotionally, if you're going to work hard, if you have goals, whether they're professional goals or you want to use Oxford to, you know, support your personal goals, even better. To the points we made earlier, I think the learning and development team, I think the robust training program that we continue to grow and gets better, with every hiring class, they're going to teach you how to be good at Oxford. I just want to know that we're at a good starting point, and we'll figure out the rest. So I think Pat and I echo each other pretty well there.
Okay, perfect. And this kind of goes along with it. I had a question come in, but as far as how many years of experience does an MBA student have to have? So I can tie that into with an MBA student, or is there a specific degree that they have to have coming in?
For me, no. I think that's an antiquated notion. I think to the point we all kind of laughed about earlier, I have advanced degrees in English that has absolutely nothing to do with this job. I've read, I got degrees in reading 400-year-old books. Like, what does that have to do with, phone sales in the life sciences division at Oxford? So I guess the short answer is no. We have a very diverse set of backgrounds on both of our teams, myself and Pat. I don't place that much importance on it. I can appreciate the value in individuals coming from areas where there's going to be some comparable skill sets, but that's not where I want to focus.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you've got sales experience or whatever, great, but I knew nothing about life sciences coming into this. When I started day one, I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Realistically, again, it was different back then. So, and you don't want to see my college background. It took a while to get out of there. But for me, again, it's just about personality, being motivated, and then also being able to be a team player. That combination is the biggest thing for me.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to kind of continue down the list here as we're talking. Another question came, I guess, how would you like new hires to contribute to the growth of the company?
I'll jump in. We're in a huge growth phase right now, realistically. We were recently sold from our former parent company, and growth is the name of the game for us. So the way that happens is hiring new people and getting them up and running quickly and producing. And when you're producing, that's how you make money and things like, the commission and things like that. So, that's our focus right now, is getting new people in and getting them up and running and producing. I don't know, Rick, you can add to that, but that's the biggest thing we're looking at right now is growth. So.
Yeah, agreed. I think, the biggest focus as an organization, especially spending out independently, is growth. I think for somebody coming in, being open, being honest, being comfortable, providing feedback as well as accepting feedback, not trying to reinvent the wheel, trusting the process. It's easy to come in here and you see the success of people that have been here for a couple of years, and you want to know what it takes to get there as quickly as possible. But I think, leaning on learning and development, leaning on your directors, leaning on your peers, and trusting that the process works, because we've been doing it pretty well for a pretty long time, I think is the most important thing for me. So it's just patience, open honesty. We'll figure the rest out.
Working leaders this last year or two that we went through, one of the key focuses we looked on was getting new hires up and running quicker. That was one of the key focuses for everyone that's been here. So, we're definitely looking at that and trying to make sure that happens. I won't get into money parts of it, but we've changed the salaries and all that too. So.
I know that's okay, actually, to go into. I had a question about kind of like salary expectations. So, that could obviously range, but maybe talk about like year one, year two, maybe down the road.
I don't know. I can jump in for the recruiter side at least. When I started, we all started at 35 grand as new hires, and then commission on top of that. In the last 2 years, in the last couple of months actually, we've jumped up to $40K base salary and then a $5,000 stipend essentially, so 45 grand. As starting salary for recruiters. If you put people to work before the end of the year and you're making more money on incentive, we can switch it over to that. But we're making big investments into changing that around and be more competitive in the market and to bring in good talent, because that's what we need right now. So I know sales has done similar. Rick, I don't know. It's a few dollars different maybe, but.
Yeah, and what is, I guess, like, as far as like, what could you expect maybe, coming in, you're doing well and you're successful, like, what do you expect at the end of the year, maybe year two, like salary range? I mean, I know it's going to range and depends on performance, but.
Well, I moved here with credit card debt and bought a house 2 years after living here. So
Okay.
maybe that'll help give some insight to it. But yeah, I mean, realistically, our commission is not just like unlimited, but the more commission you bring in, the higher percentage you get. So the more numbers you bring in, the more money you're making on it. So, I mean, realistically, you can make after 2 years 6 figures, I would say. I mean, Rick, I would say you were at probably the same place.
Yeah, I think that was probably accurate. I can say, I can validate very honestly that nobody on the sales team in life sciences here in Madison fell short of 6 figures their 3rd year at Oxford. We have a similar structure to Pat. We've done a lot of investment in the last couple of months to try to figure out how to incentivize what I was talking about earlier with being patient in terms of the ramp up and understanding what it really takes to get people up and running, and then figuring out how to transition them off of that initial stipend and into actually earning their incentive, to Pat's point as well. It sounds silly, but the more money you make, the more money you make as you continue to grow through those tiers. I came in here with 17, 18 years of sales experience, outside sales experience, and this is my first role that truly had uncapped commission, where you can literally make as much money as you can possibly make, and there's nobody there to stop you or say, okay, that's enough. So that was pretty exciting. That was something that I had to kind of see from my own eyes, but now that I'm on the other side of it, at the end of the day, it's a phenomenal opportunity to make a lot of money. If Pat and I are doing our jobs well, we're the worst paid people on the team. And that's a reality there. And that's something that we're excited about too. That's something that I aspire to, is to be the least compensated person on my team. So, the short answer is there's great opportunity to make money here. In addition to growing yourselves professionally, personally, different things like that.
This is the first job I had that was Monday through Friday, an 8 to 5 job as well. I worked other jobs before, and that working on weekends and things like that. Like, we don't ask you to take work home with you. Like, maybe there's days where you will, for better or worse, but we don't expect that. So, like, it's a Monday through Friday job, 8 to 5. We get to do some fun things after work, things like that. And there's people working here who are making probably close to $1 million now in commission, if I think about people who I won't name, Rick, but not you. But yeah, a couple of our account managers on the life sciences side. So yeah, it's truly uncapped, and the possibilities are so high. It's crazy.
Great, thank you. And I did get a question. Is the 11-week training program paid?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's totally paid. Yep. You get your full salary.
Sure is.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks. Okay, so we do have a couple of questions, and I'm happy to help answer these. It's kind of about the application process, but just like, how do we apply? Do we go through the, if a candidate wants to apply, do they go through a website or send the recruiter the resume, and kind of what's the timeline of the application process? And since we handle that mostly on our end as far as sourcing candidates, so you can apply through our careers website online, or you could also, connect with a recruiter, and we'll do an initial phone interview with the candidate. So once that process happens, it's, we can phone interview one day, and we can get you set up for a face-to-face interview the next day. So our turnaround time is pretty quick. Once the director interviews the candidate, the face-to-face interview or Microsoft Teams interview, they'll make a decision within 24 to 48 hours. So our turnaround time is very quick with feedback, and then moving forward with the offer. And I did get a question on some of the training dates, but we do have, moving into our next training date is going to be January 10th. So, and then we have 7 total throughout the year. So like Danielle mentioned earlier, everybody starts on the same day and trains together across the US and Europe. So, okay. And then, so I did get another question just about sponsorship. So we do not provide sponsorship at this point. So, but if anything changes, we can definitely reach out and let you know. So that was one question that came in, but I wanted to talk a little bit about, oh, here, we've got another one. Sorry, they're coming in. So I guess whoever wants to start, what attracted you to this company and what has led you to stay?
Yeah, for me, and again, kind of leaning back to my introduction a little bit, it was a very hectic time for us. I was leaving a good job. And we were trying to do a lot in a very small amount of time. The house we bought, we came up here and signed the papers on it, sight unseen. We had never physically seen it before. We were enrolling my daughter in school on like a Tuesday in February. We had a lot going on. I still had to go back home and close out on our house in North Carolina, work for a couple more weeks, leave my family up here. Too much information. The point being, I had a lot going on personally. And I was very adamant that those were things that were always going to be a priority for me. And our now vice president of business development for life sciences, Brandon Olson, who was the guy that hired me, was very clear that work-life balance was important to him. And he was very sincere, and he put his money where his mouth was very early on in this role. And so that was the biggest thing for me. Was that I was very adamant that, family was going to come first, and there was really, there was no bend there. And he made it very clear very quickly that was going to be okay. So for me, that was more important than the amount of money he said I could make, or, all the stuff we're talking about here. Anything else was that, at Oxford, when we say work-life balance, we actually mean it.
Great. Thank you. Patrick?
Yeah, similar story. I mean, I'm from Madison originally. I was living in Chicago. My dad was sick at the time, so I was going to move back to Madison. And one of my old fraternity brothers from UW, Stefan Feldmeyer, who still works here, had been working here since college. So he'd been here for 6-7 years at the time. I knew he was doing well. And so I talked to him about it, and he's like, yeah, man, you should apply. So that's what kind of got me to apply at the first time. And then once I talked to everyone and kind of saw the setup, it was an easy decision. So
Great. Thanks. I did get a couple of questions on just how we get in touch with the recruiter, so I'm happy to answer that. So, after this call, we can connect. We'll have, we can have your information. I can have corporate recruiter reach out to you and discuss the role in more detail and talk about, timelines for you and interview process and everything like that. So we can get you in contact with the corporate recruiter for the market that you're interested in. So, okay. So I thought kind of, getting close to the end of our call here, I thought we could talk about something fun. I know I threw up a few slides about culture and, what we do in the events we have and charities and all that. But I wanted to see, like, what do you guys do in the office or what do you do on your teams to make it fun?
Sorry, don't do that around here. No, I mean, again, like Rick said, like corporate culture is important to us. So, the other day we went bowling as a team, ducked out of here a few hours early, went and did that. Obviously, COVID's kind of changed the landscape of getting to do things as a team. Hopefully, in the near future, that won't be as much of an issue, but who knows? So, we're very much on team building, getting together, not just on the recruiting side, but sales side. So my team with Rick's team, we went out for happy hour on Friday with the engineering team in Madison as well. So, we try to get everyone together as much as possible, while also being conscious of the fact that, like, not as easy to get together these days as it used to be.
Yeah, similar for us too. Pat's team went bowling. Our team hit our quarterly goals for the third quarter. So we're planning on going to Dave & Buster's and just playing a bunch of video games and having a good time one afternoon. Earlier in the year when the weather was nice and we had training classes coming through and new hire classes, we'd take a walk across the street to the park and do skills training outside for the afternoon, just little stuff like that. We do daily contests. We get kind of, competitive and in a fun way, around here and get in little daily competitions. And, and weekly competitions and things like that. And you know, we have I forget what it's called now, like the Good Vibes crew. We literally have like a fun committee in the office whose entire job is to meet once a week and figure out how we can have fun around here. So we definitely try to keep it lively and you know, take everybody's input on that.
That's awesome.
And we're doing a big like holiday party again. Finally, we didn't have one last year, so going to some sort of golfing simulation thing that I don't know a ton about, but we're gonna be doing that here in December. So you know, something to get the whole team together will be fun.
Perfect. Okay. I got another question. They want to know, what have you learned since starting your role?
A lot. You know, I mean, you know, the skills perspective, to Pat's point too, you know, I didn't know anything about life sciences or inside sales or staffing or any of that. So you look at the professional stuff too. You know, I think you learn a lot about yourself too, being in these independent roles, being in these roles where nobody's looking over your shoulder. I think through COVID, when we were, you know, mandated to go home for a couple of months too, you learn a lot about your work ethic and different things like that. You learn a lot about personal accountability because, again, it's a performance-based opportunity. So not to say that, you know, leaders like Pat and myself don't hold ourselves accountable for team success, but it's kind of one of those things where, you know, if you're doing well or you're not, you really don't have anybody to look at but yourself for the most part. So I think that's a great kind of personal lesson and kind of figuring out who you are as you step into this role. And yeah, it can be uncomfortable, but you know, I think a lot of times growth is.
Yeah, I mean, I think you get comfortable being uncomfortable is the biggest thing, right? Like when I started here, I didn't know what life sciences was, you know, and now I can hop on a call with a manager for Pfizer or Johnson & Johnson or whoever it is and talk through what they're looking for, you know, 20 minutes if I want to. So I learned a lot through that. And then two, yeah, I mean, there's, you know, personal responsibility for yourself is great. Like you get to build your own business as a recruiter or an account manager here at Oxford. Like we give you the tools to be successful and the backing to do it. And from there, it's like, we'll help you be successful, but you can build it your own way. And I love that about being here because I've been in other places where that wasn't the case, you know? So we'll give you the tools. We've got the backing. We've got the company that we've been here long enough where we've got good clients and people know who we are. But you kind of get to choose your own adventure again, to use that, you know, wording. So, which I love.
Awesome. That's great. I did have another question that came through that I wanted to talk about. I'm probably going to go through Danielle, and anybody can answer it really, but you know, you go through the training program, you get up and running, you become successful. And, you know, I know that there's ongoing training, like professional development and training, but what type of support are you getting throughout just your new hire training all the way up, like through your career? Like who is supporting you along the way? Maybe just not your director, but what support can you expect?
Sure. Well, we do. My team really communicates. We communicate weekly, actually, with the VPs and the director teams to better understand kind of where the performance gaps are in the organization, both, you know, kind of generally, but then also down to directors and individual account managers and recruiters. And we look at the data that supports that, so that, you know, training solves knowledge and skill gaps. So if it's an issue that is not related to a knowledge and skill gaps, we look at other solutions. But I guess the short answer is it's pretty customized after that. So once you get the foundation built through your onboarding program and through the shadowing, kind of mentoring and coaching that you get from your director, if additional support is needed, we work kind of one-on-one with each of those directors and account managers and recruiters to give them the boost that they need. Performance development, like a performance plan, gets put in place from the day you leave onboarding, which there is no performance gap. It's the day you left training. But we know what your metrics are and the goals that you have to hit and the activity that generally you have to do on a daily, weekly basis to hit those goals. And so we get that in place from the ground running. Right from the get-go. And then, you know, through your daily conversations that you have with your manager, if there are gaps that start addressing, there's an open, transparent communication. All of our management team goes through pretty extensive coaching training those coaching conversations happen. And again, we do the kind of custom one-on-one. So the result of that may be that we put you in a Percipio program that helps fill that void, or maybe you do additional workshops and role plays with some of the L&D team members, or maybe you need more mentoring with a senior staff member. So it's pretty customized.
That's great. Thank you. Okay. And I got one more question in too. Any tips on how to stand out during the interview process?
I think for me, and I touched on this earlier, just be yourself. I'm not, and I can't speak for everybody. Obviously, people have different opinions, but, I want you to come in and be able to tell me about yourself, tell me about what your goals are, tell me about what truly interests you in the job. I just want honesty. That's the biggest thing. I've been doing this long enough that, I can tell for the most part, I can tell who's, telling me what's true and who's telling me what they think I want to hear. And I don't really have the time or the interest in that. So just be honest, be yourself, tell me why you're here, what interests you about the job. It's okay to say, I heard I can make a lot of money here. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't be afraid to say, I heard I can make a ton of money here. So as long as you're being honest with me, I'm going to be honest with you too. And that's really the biggest thing, because that's foundational.
All that is basic interview, just advice. And I say this to all our consultants who are interviewing too, look up the company you're going to go interview for, make sure you understand what they do, and have some sort of idea when you go into it. So that's not just for Oxford, that's for any company. But, I give that to even our 20-year consultants who are going on to a new, company and interviewing. I send them the company they're working for or interviewing with, the website, the manager they're talking to, all these things. Do your research, I would say. But again, to Rick's point, we don't want canned answers. I said, as long as you can hold a conversation, you can be good at this job. I think, Rick, you sold flooring before this. And,
yes.
And I sold cars before I worked for this job. So, we didn't have any background in this, but we found a way to be successful and move up pretty quickly. So
I think
it's not rocket science, it's just.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Pat. To piggyback on that too, probably my biggest thing is, and to Pat's point, not just with us, I'd say anywhere for you all, have questions. There's no bigger red flag to me than somebody that doesn't have a single question about what is potentially going to be their career for the next 30 or 40 years. And I don't assume that, anybody planned on going into staffing when they were a kid and somebody asked them what they wanted to be when they grow up. But I think, Pat, myself, and probably Courtney and Danielle as well, don't plan on leaving this place if we can help it. That's my biggest one. Have questions. Have something that I didn't answer, because as good as I like to think I am, I definitely didn't answer all your questions. So if you don't have any, that's a big concern. So definitely bring your own notes and be ready to interview me.
Love it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. So that was actually our last question there. So I know we're getting ready to wrap up here soon. So I just want to thank all of you for participating today. I loved hearing all your responses and why you love working here at Oxford. So, but yeah, I'll pass it back over to Brandon and we can wrap up. So thanks again.